Brazda is known to historians today as the last known Pink Triangle concentration camp survivor. After liberation, he spent the vast majority of his life in Alsace, France, with his boyfriend, Edward Meyer. In 2008, Rudolf was inspired by the unveiling of a memorial in Berlin dedicated to the Nazis' gay victims. At the urging of friends, he broke his silence and told his story. Rudolf spent the rest of his life inspiring generations young and old to fight back against hatred and injustice. Rudolf was born on June 26, 1913, the youngest of a family of Czech origin living in the German town of Meuselwitz. Both of his parents worked in the coal mining industry. Rudolf suffered tragedy early on in life, as he lost his father in a workplace accident. Rudolf was only 7 years old. Rudolf's family knew from an early time that he was gay and always accepted him. He found community among other gays and lesbians in Meuselwitz and nearby Atlenberg by frequenting local meeting houses and clubs. Despite the existence of Paragraph 175, the German anti-gay law, Rudolf faced little discrimination and felt free to be himself. In 1933, the same year as Hitler's rise to power, Rudolf met his first boyfriend, Werner. The two gave each other feminine nicknames, Inge for Rudolf and Uschi for Werner. They moved into a small boarding house with a Jehovah's Witness landlady who accepted their relationship. Shortly after settling in, Rudolf and Werner got married. Of course, their marriage was not legally recognized, but it was true and real to them. One of the first acts of Nazi violence Rudolf experienced was at a local gay meeting place in Leipzig, a coffee shop called New York. Rudolf recalled, "The SA dragged us out, pulling us by our hair." In 1937, he was arrested under Paragraph 175 and sentenced to 6 months in prison, charged with unnatural indecency between men. The love letters that Rudolf and Werner had written to each other were used as evidence against him. After Rudolf was released from prison, he was deported to Czechoslovakia, a country that was unfamiliar to him. He soon moved to the German-speaking Sudetenland and found work as a roofer. After the Germans invaded the territory, Rudolf was quickly arrested and sentenced to 14 more months in prison under violation of Paragraph 175. While serving out his sentence, Rudolf was deported to Buchenwald concentration camp, assigned the number 7952, and forced to bear the Pink Triangle. At 29 years old, Rudolf was one of the youngest prisoners there. As soon as he was interned at the camp, he was subjected to forced labor for a period that ultimately lasted 32 months. Rudolf recalled that throughout his internment at Buchenwald, the guards violently beat him on a regular basis. He witnessed the worst of humanity there. He once said, "Seeing people die became such an everyday thing. It left you feeling practically indifferent. Now, every time I think back on those terrible times, I cry. But back then, just like everyone in the camps, I hardened myself so I could survive." Additionally, he formed communities within the camp. He once said, "There are strong friendships, solidarity, mutual aid, and humanity that prevail over barbarity." Rudolf also expressed that he owed a lot of his survival to the capos, or prisoners who were giving supervisory roles in the camps. The capo overseeing Rudolf's Reefer Commando or detachment protected him from deportation to the dreaded Dora subcamp after Rudolf stood up for himself to an SS guard. Another capo hid him next to a pigsty to prevent him from being subjected to a death march to another camp. He remained hidden there until Buchenwald was liberated by American forces on April 11, 1945. After liberation, Rudolf followed a friend to Alsace, France, where a German dialect, Alsatian, was widely spoken. In the 1950s, he met his lifelong partner, Edward, or Eddie, Meyer, at a costume ball. Rudolf became a naturalized citizen of France in 1960 and lived out the vast majority of his life without speaking of the fact that he was a Pink Triangle survivor. In 1965, Rudolf and Eddie visited the Buchenwald Memorial Site, and although it brought back memories of the worst times of his life, he had his partner to confide in. He is quoted as saying, "What does it matter now? We are together, and that is all that matters." Rudolf and Eddie stayed together for 30 years. After Eddie was injured in a workplace accident, Rudolf took care of him until Eddie died in 2003. When Rudolf heard about a memorial dedicated to homosexual victims of the Nazi regime in 2008 being dedicated in Germany, he was inspired to tell the world that, as a Pink Triangle survivor, he still lived. From then on out, he devoted his life to speaking out against prejudice and injustice, and encouraged others to do the same. Because of his advocacy, he was awarded gold medals from several French cities. Additionally, he was appointed a knight in the National Order of the Legion of Honor in France in 2011. His story led to the writing and publication of 2 biographies about his life, one in French and one in German. On August 3rd, 2011, Rudolf died peacefully at the age of 98. He is remembered as someone who had great optimism and had an innate ability to see the good side in things. In his final years, he stated, "If I finally speak, it's for people to know what we homosexuals had to endure in Hitler's days. It shouldn't happen again."